Okay, hey there, everybody. I'm live now out here on YouTube. I know some people I'm coming over maybe from Twitter, Facebook, somewhere, and watching. I'm just gonna do all this and live thing and then save it and publish it back on my website, just kind of as a complete deal of talking about the Rise of Skywalker, just kind of doing it straight off instead of trying to record a video. I like kind of doing it live, kind of doing it just ad hoc if I can get my camera going straight here for everybody. Okay, there we go. So yeah, we did go to the fan event. It was not full. The theater was definitely not full. Maybe I'd say 65% full, something like that. Maybe 70%, I would think. So let me get my phone out here and sync it, because I took some pictures of the parking lot, which I was surprised that wasn't that many people. I mean, supposedly they had the marathon showing and things like that. So where were the people? Where were all the cars? Right? I didn't. All right, go synchronize. Oh, maybe my Wi-Fi is off. No, I'm on Wi-Fi. Phones are fun, you try and get your phones to work and to do things. and they don't always work right. So let's go here. Let's go photos. I'm in photos, right? For you, photos. Okay. Supposed to be backing up, but who knows? There we go. Okay, so let me switch over here. And this was the parking lot when we got there. This was the show at 5 o'clock. I don't know if people just weren't going there. They weren't in, there weren't enough showings of the start. Then this was the other part of the parking lot, which is a couple of cars. I mean, it's a 5 o'clock showing on Thursday, so I don't know. Well, what I do know is, right, when we went and saw Endgame over here, I move this over a little bit here. Over here, in this one spot, over here on the very right of this photograph, that's the parking garage. When we went to see Endgame, this whole entire parking lot, all of this was packed. And we went to the opening day, first showings, opening day, Endgame. This whole entire parking lot was packed, full. There was no place to park. We tried to go into the parking garage over there, and there's 3 floors, and we drove all the way up to the top of the parking garage. There were no parking spaces. We drove all the way back down, and then had to drive out and park over near Target. If you know this mall area, this is the Collection Mall. So let me grab a map here, and I'll kind of show what's going on where we were, and we'll kind of show some parking lot things here. So, okay, get the satellite up. Okay, satellite. There we go. Okay, switch back. Okay, so this is the mall here, and so when we went to Endgame, all of this entire parking area, I mean, everywhere was full. We had to park over. There's a Target over here. We had to park over towards the Target, inside the Target parking area, and walk all the way down because there just was no parking. So today, with this showing, pretty much a ghost town. Pretty much nobody here, and that's. I mean, there was the marathon showing, and there was the just the fan event showing. So I would expect there would be more cars, unless, I mean, the theater that we were in was not one of the bigger theaters. It was just one of the regular digital theaters. So I don't know if they just, I guess it's better that they picked one of the smaller theaters, because our theater was not full. It was just kind of, like I said, 65, maybe 70. I mean, there was a good 4 or 5 rows in the front, and there was some space in the back. And this is supposed to be the fan event. You know, if you couldn't get to the marathon event, you could go to the fan event. So that's what we did, because they released the marathon ones. All the tickets went earlier than they said they were going to, which Disney typically does for Star Wars. I don't know why they do that. And the birds over there yelling and screaming. So thank you so much. You can be quiet now. Doesn't like me talking. We did get, let me see, I have my other, I'll just flip here. So we did get these fan event opening night pins. So we got these to be able to show our wonderfulness that we were actually there. They were still selling the cups with the lids that have the Kylo Ren and the white-eyed 3PO. They didn't go with the red-eyed 3PO for some reason, so I don't know. They did go with that. So as far as the film, it was very rushed. It seems like a lot of things were cut together. A lot of things that I think they could have, if they had more time maybe to think about it, to watch it, the different cuts. I mean, I know there's a hashtag out there, give us the give us the George's version, give us the George cut, the Lucas cut of it, kind of like giving us the Snyder cut, right, of the film, because we don't really know which one we got. And maybe they'll give a different cut when it comes out on video. Maybe you could watch 3 different versions of the film and people could pick which one they want. I don't know. I don't know if that they would do that, but I did see that George was not in the at the premiere. If somebody's wondering where the straw goes, so in the little lid in the back here, there is the straw goes in the back. It doesn't like go in the head or anything else. And these are pretty well attached. Some of the other Marvel ones that we've gotten, the little thing pops off and pops on, and the straw still goes into the back. It's, I don't know. It's these cups. So like it's this cup that has Star Wars Rise of Skywalker. They had a metal tin popcorn bucket, but we have our 2019 bucket for popcorn that we get refilled for only $4. And then this year they actually had the 2020 bucket. When you bring it back, it gets filled for $4.95, and then we get 20% off for being part of the movie club. Okay, so let's dig into some other things here about the movie, right? So now we know the tomato meter has been kind of bouncing up and down. It kind of started in the 50s and has gone up to 56. I think if we go to top critics, it goes down. Wow, it's gone down quite a bit, down to 48. So the critics don't like it. The audience seems fairly happy with 1,600 votes. It's at an 88%, and I could see that. I mean, there was a lot of flash. There was a lot of, action and things moving. It didn't... If you weren't into Star Wars, if you're not really heavy into Star Wars and you haven't really dug in to Star Wars, then you probably would have thought, if you're a casual goer, you're going to give it a really high score. The people over on IMDb are a little bit harder on it. They're giving it a 6.8, still 6.8. And some of the reviews, the user reviews, some of them are really, really quite harsh. So, no, it wasn't perfect. Just sit back and watch it, right? Some of them were, there's no spoilers. Here we go. I can tell you, Disney acquired Lucasfilm. I remember seeing an interview with Kathleen Kennedy that our beloved characters will be, carried on and everything else. And we all know that that's not true. They do give away, they don't really hide the fact that Palpatine is in the film. So right up from the front, the very first scene. So FYI, this is going to be all spoilers. We're just talking about if you've not seen it and you don't want to know any more about it, then of course jump off, because I'm just going to be heading in and talking about what happened in the film. So let me switch some screens here real quick. Here we go. Let's go. Okay, so I did find on Reddit this thing, which is a kind of the plot summary, and I'm going to use this kind of as a guide to go through what happens. And it is pretty much, the whole plot was leaked. Let's just say that the plot was, everything about it was already leaked. It's already gone. It's already out there. If you read any of it, that's what happens. So you already know the thing, because they give away the whole thing on Exegol that Palpatine is there and he's part of going to be part of the whole movie, and his whole goal is to get Rey and Kylo together, and either he's got to go kill Rey so that she can't lead anybody in rebellion against him, and he's going to place Kylo as his new ruler of everything, and there you go. That's what he wants. So he sends Kylo out to kill Rey. And he said that he was the one that was controlling Snoke, and I guess so he must have allowed Snoke to die. Something, I guess, or maybe he didn't know, because Kylo says, "I killed Snoke." So, so then we jump back. We do a little bit of that and send Kylo off, and now we jump to some training where Rey is getting some training And I guess for somehow at this point we don't know why, but Leia's doing his training. We didn't know that Leia had ever had any training. We're just meant to kind of think that. So, and she does a little training. She runs around, jumps on some things, and jumps over. You've seen the parts of the trailer where she's training in this jungle area. Well, that's in the movie. That's her training that she's doing, and she can levitate herself. And how Luke, when he was trying to lift in his training, he's trying to lift Yoda off the ground and balance Yoda and lift a couple of rocks on the ground. He could barely do it, and he got distracted a little bit, and then boom, everything goes crashing. Well, Rey's not that way. Rey's floating herself in the air, and rocks are spinning everywhere, all over the place, because she's Rey, and she's had so much training and just can pick up on this stuff like right away. And I think this is part of what we're seeing a little bit from The Mandalorian, how Baby Yoda just has these abilities, right? I think some of that is trying to explain why Rey is the way she is. She's Mary Sue, right? She can do anything with very little training and all that. So I'm gonna have to go cover the bird now because it's being very upset. Hold on. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. Bird covered. Now it won't be screeching. So we have Rey doing her training, and then we get some of the scenes with Leia. And throughout this film, sometimes I see Leia. She's like moving her hands, and she'll like move them like repeated like every time. Oh, they switch to Leia looking at her from the front, and she's moving her hands in a certain way, and then they switch off, and then they switch back, and her hands are moving in the exact same way. So they're taking some of the cuts that they had and just repeating it, recycling them, and just using, I guess, computers to move her mouth around. So her facial expressions really didn't match kind of what was going on, and that kind of got a little bit distracting in the film. So I think it might have been better, right, to just have one of the first initial scenes be a huge battle, a huge something of some kind, and then lose Leia right away. Because she could have not have been in this movie, and I think they just put her in there just to say that this was, Leia's movie or something like that. That the first movie was supposed to be Han's movie, the second movie was supposed to be Luke's movie, and the third movie was supposed to be Leia's movie, which is kind of what I had heard way back originally, even though with The Last Jedi, that kind of got thrown out the window and we made a mockery of Luke. So, meanwhile, here we have on Agent Cross, Leia's picked up where her brother left off, has been helping Rey learn how to do things. So Kylo Ren and his knights at some dark location, a castle owned by this ape man, yes, which was kind of weird. They reforge the mask, they get the mask all back together, which is why it has the red lines in it, I guess, so that they can obviously sell different action figures with now a red helmet instead of just the regular one. Why they couldn't put it back together normally, I'm sure that's why. So after obtaining Vader's device, so he does find the Wayfinder, which allows him to go to and navigate him to Exegol. So you have to have this Wayfinder thing to get to Exegol, because you have to navigate through some crazed energy field thing. So then we get one thing that was really good that Mrs. Texture really enjoyed, which was They were in a room. They were having a meeting. The room looked exactly like one of the rooms from the Death Star when you know, movie when Vader's, saying, "I find your lack of faith disturbing," and he chokes the guy. Well, Kylo Ren kind of does the same thing, and the room looks almost identical. So really doing a huge throwback to nostalgia, right there. Just like everything has to look the same as something else. We got to call everything back to something else in the past. It has to be done kind of that way. So, okay, so we pick up Finn and Poe on the Millennium Falcon, accompanied by a handful of unfamiliar alien characters, traveling to an icy asteroid to meet with a First Order informant. So, yes, they go flying into this asteroid, and they stop and they open the upper hatch. So we know we've seen the upper hatch before, so we got to call back and use the upper hatch again. And then how there's atmosphere there, that when they open the upper hatch in this ice thing, that it seems like in this newer Star Wars, we forget they've like skipped the part about space being cold and nothing there, right? So they go into this ice asteroid thing, and it's not a planet. It doesn't have atmosphere. So they fly in there and they can just open the hatch and have some other guy open a hatch and say, "Oh, here's the information." And of course they have to download the information to R2D2, and they have to, it has to go into R2D2 because we're doing another callback to, episode 4, New Hope, where we have to give the plans and everything to R2D2. So, so they get that, and they give them some encoder with some information on it. The First Order arrives, of course, and starts attacking. They do this thing called light speed skipping, where they just don't aim at anything, just go into light speed and then go out of light speed, then go into light speed and go out of light speed, and they're calling it skipping. And every time they're going through like a different planet that looks a little bit familiar. So, and then they finally get to a place where they can actually escape. So, okay. So now the Resistance reviews the information that they got off the encoder and find out about the Sith fleet and Palpatine's return. So now we know there's a Sith fleet. It's 1,000 type big Star Destroyers, and Palpatine's back and all this stuff. And they, in the beginning, we don't understand where Palpatine came from. We don't know how he's there. There's kind of a vat that has a bunch of heads and half dismembered kind of bodies floating in it, kind of like a mad scientist lab kind of thing, which was in the other leaks that somebody had said about some kind of mad scientist thing. It's like, okay, that's odd and grotesque. Okay, so then we go and we get Palpatine, and he's like barely there. He's hooked up to a bunch of machines that are holding him in the air as he's going, because he's got to be somehow kept alive, whether he's the clone or somebody else was the clone or something else. We don't know. They just mention it. Okay, Finn voices concerns over the children that were kidnapped, as he was in the order to staff a fleet of this scale. So they're saying that all the people that are on these ships, right, are children that have been kidnapped, over how many years? I mean, this from the Return of the Jedi to now is supposed to be maybe 10 or 20 years, something like that. So I guess if you had been years and years ago pulling kids from families and then training them, just like Finn was done in the First Order, then okay, so you could have, but enough to staff 1,000 ships. I don't know about that. Just seemed a little odd that enough people. So if you have 1,000 ships and each of them have 20,000 people on it, that's quite a lot of children gone, and I think people would really start to notice that their kids are all missing all the time. Okay, high-ranking First Order officers are gathered in a room. Hux and Pride are among them. Bulio's head is apparently thrown on. Oh yeah, this is where the part where they're in the conference room that's just like on the other Star Destroyers. where Vader's having the meeting with them, and this is where he actually does some little bit of dark side stuff where he slams his head on the table and he pushes him up, slams him flat on the ceiling, just really, really throwing him around, really giving him, a hard time for him not having any confidence in Kylo's abilities. So that was pretty good. I mean, Mrs. Texas was like, yes, some evil, some dark side, something, but it's not for long, so it goes away soon. So then we get Leia dispatches Poe, Finn, and Rey along with everybody else, and they're doing this. Tell me when you get back. You can tell. You can do this when you get back. Meaning, you're not going to come back, or when you get back, my character is not going to be alive anymore. It's like, so it's fairly obvious what's going on. So they get to this desert planet, and there's some big celebration thing going on, and they try and hide in the crowd. And since Chewie's so tall, he doesn't hide in the crowd very well. And then they find Lando, of course. Some troopers show up, and Lando helps them out and gets them out of the situation. And then they go to find somebody's ship, Ochi. This person, Ochi, because his ship was somewhere there, and Luke was finding it. So they're trying to track down where Luke had been going to find this Wayfinder, because they figured that Luke was going to find the Wayfinder. So now they got to find where Luke was going so they can find the Wayfinder. Yeah, and so this person, Ochi, I guess his ship is there because he was helping Luke. So they go and find it, and they are chased by this is when they're chased through the desert. This is the they fly now bit where you have in The Mandalorian and in in Return of the Jedi and these other movies where you have Mandalorians and other bounty hunters that have jetpacks that fly. So it's obviously well known that they fly in some of the episodes of The Mandalorian. The other Mandalorians have jetpacks and they fly. You're currently going across the ground in a land speeder that is basically flying. Not touching the ground, it's flying. And then you're going to be surprised when the stormtroopers fly? Okay, no. That deserved 100% of the mocking that it got online. Completely. So then they chase around and fly around, and then they end up at the ship where they end up on the ground in this place where the ground is a bunch of like silver or dark, shiny metal kind of things, and it's like a quicksand thing, and they fall down through it. And you don't know if they're going to live or die, or Rey's going to go and lift everybody out, but they go all the way down through into caves that are underneath. How the metal, sand, whatever that's above it doesn't just fall down and fill the underneath, that's not explained. We just have to take it that, oh no, the sand up there just doesn't come down here for no reason. I thought that was kind of weird. I didn't get that at all. So now we're down there. We find a land speeder thing that's down there that they were using. So obviously this Ochi guy was down there with his little land speeder. And then then a snake comes, and they see Rey sees that the snake is injured. So they're all afraid, the snake's going to attack them. They all got their weapons out. And Rey goes over and just suddenly decides, I've never seen this before. I've never done this before. I've never heard of anyone doing this before. But I'm going to heal the snake. Okay. Well, that's where we know why The Mandalorian was released a few days early. Because in The Mandalorian, Baby Yoda heals one of the characters in The Mandalorian. And through that character flips his allegiance. So I don't know if it's something about the healing or something about um, how the force is used that suddenly also manipulates their mind into doing what the person healing them wants them to do. Because we kind of see that a little bit later. So she heals the snake, and the snake is now, oh, thanks, and slides off and reveals an opening for them to get out of the caves. So they find the dagger, and the dagger has some writing on it. And 3PO says, "Oh, I know what that is. I can read that." So 3PO reads that, but he can't speak it because his programming tells him he can't speak it. So again, now we have so we're looking for the Wayfinder. We can't find the Wayfinder, but we find the dagger. Now that we have the dagger, we can't do anything with the dagger because 3PO can't tell us what's on it, even though he knows what's on it. So then we got to go to the next step. So like we did this. It's like it's a video game, right? We did this. Okay, we got to go do point A. Okay, we did point A. We did our activity point A, and we got this information. Okay, now that we got this information, now we get to go to point B. Okay, now we got the now we did our little task we have to do there. Oh, now we got more information. Now we got to go to part C. Then we got to go do over and over again. We're jumping through things like that, just like kind of a video game. And some parts are good. Some of the battles and things are pretty good. I mean, the chase, even though the they can fly thing is there, the chase thing isn't too bad. I mean, they do some fun things to destroy the ships and stuff, and it makes sense. So 3PO says he can read it, but during their escape attempt, Chewie gets captured by the who are they? The Knights of Ren. Chewie gets captured, and the ships take off. And while the ships are taking off, Rey's out there, and she puts her hand up, and she holds the ship in place in space and starts bringing it down to the ground. So, well, this is before this is the point where Kylo's coming with his TIE fighter, and she does the whole jump over the thing and slice one of the wings off the TIE fighter, and the TIE fighter crashes and stuff. And then she turns around, and then there's the ship in the air, so she just force pulls the ship, starts pulling it down to the ground, and Kylo comes up, and I don't know if he's there pushing the ship up or helping her pull the ship down. I think he's probably pushing it up. So she's pulling down, he's pushing up, and the ship is just sitting there. And then she gets frustrated, and she pushes really hard, and lightning comes out of her hands, and she destroys the ship. And she thinks she's killed Chewie. So how at this point can we see that she can do this? There's no learning involved in this. There are no steps where she takes something and then lifts it up, and then it falls, and then lifts it up more, and then it falls. And then there's no learning curve. Anyway, it's more Mary Sue, and I think it goes back to when it's revealed in the movie that she's the daughter of Palpatine. That's where she gets her abilities and her power, and we see that also coming from the Mandalorian, that Baby Yoda has power, and maybe it's just natural for some people. So, all right. While this is transpiring, Poe, Finn, 3PO, and BB-8 get Oshi's ship in the air just in time to fly over and pick up a distraught Rey with no Lando, no Falcon, no dagger, and no Chewbacca. So yeah, Chewbacca had the dagger, and that went off. So our heroes, we've kind of failed at that part. So now they leave the planet and find out they do not have in possession of the dagger because Chewbacca had it, but not all lost because 3PO has the dagger's image in his memory, but he just can't tell anybody what's on it. Which, if you wanted to make the movie a couple of minutes shorter, you could have done that. But we got to go to this other Kijimi planet so that we can find the person to help with the 3PO be able to spew out the directions and coordinates and stuff for where to go to get the Wayfinder. Okay, so they make their way to Kijimi, and this is where, and we need to go to Kijimi because Poe needs to rekindle his relationship with Zori Bliss, who's there, and all that. So they find the little guy over here. What's his name? Babu Frick, who's the little worker guy. He's like, this tall. I'm surprised they don't have, figures of him out everywhere and stuff, because he was very cute. He was very funny. He added a lot of humor to the movie. It was actually pretty funny. So thanks, third door from the left. Sorry you gotta go, but we'll talk to you later. All right. So now we've got everybody here. We've got 3PO here. They fix him, and this is where his eyes flip red because he's rebooted, and now he's spews out the coordinates of where they have to go. And so then all the stormtroopers are there. They're looking for Rey, and so everybody gets off, and they got to leave. And so she gives, let's see, Kylo's Star Destroyer arrives on the planet, and Rey senses that Chewbacca is still alive. So she can sense everybody everywhere, it seems, even though in other versions of areas of Star Wars in the past, they haven't really known, had that much, insight into who's actually alive or dead and everything else, so it's, I don't know. So she's again has more powers than anybody else, with only being trained almost none by Luke, and seemingly only told to go run around the woods, by Leia is all we see her doing. Okay, so Kylo initiates another mind bond with Rey. Kylo spends much of his time agonizing Rey. Some of this conversation revolves around her parents and the truth behind the dagger, so we find out a little bit about that. So Kylo comes down to the planet. So our heroes escape. We see Palpatine orders Hux and Pride. Pride is the one played by... Pride is Richard E. Grant. So, which I really liked his character. I mean, I think he added quite a bit. I mean, he was more Imperial-like than Hux was. Hux was always kind of whiny, kind of wishy-washy whiny, and Pride was like, okay, I'm doing this. This is going on. So Rey finds. So they go up to the ship, and they're trying to get rescue Chewie. So Rey sees the dagger, and so they get the dagger again, and which is kind of weird because we had the 3PO had the images from the dagger, which we decoded. So why do we need the dagger still? They don't know that. At this point, they have no idea that they're going to need the dagger. They just know that, we got to go, we got the thing and we know where to go to find the Wayfinder. But we don't really know that we actually need the dagger. But they go up and get the dagger anyway. But I guess that leads to the point where Rey can have this mind battle again with Kylo again. So we seem to be wandering a lot. Okay, we're here, we jump over here, and then we go to here, then we got to go over here, and then we go to this ship, and then, okay, that gives us where to go over here. And it's a lot of bouncing around and moving around a lot. So Kylo's on the surface. Kijimi and Rey board the Star Destroyer. During the encounter, Kylo reveals that there's more of the story behind Rey's parents. Ochi was sent to find and recover Rey, not to kill her. Her parents just got in the way. So she is still wanted for the darkness inside her, to fully committed to what the Emperor's mission was for him. Vader's helmet in Kylo's room is transferred from whoever's near to the person who's on the planet through the Force bond. This happens due to the fight they're having when the lightsaber strikes the helmet. Yeah, so different things happen with the helmet, and when he touches the helmet, he creates this Force bond and stuff now. So once they end their little Force bond duel, Kylo goes back to the ship as Rey grabs the dagger and Chewbacca's bandolier and everything else, and heads back down, gives it to 3PO to get everybody else, and so everybody else is holding them. So Hux takes. We had Finn, Poe, and Chewie. I think it was Chewie. So they're being held by, Hux is taking them with stormtroopers. They're going to take them off and they're going to kill them. And then they stop at one point and the stormtroopers are going to kill him. And Hux goes, nope, I want to do it. Takes the gun from him. And then we just see the three, Finn, Poe, and Chewie, and we hear lightning, laser bolts blast. And they turn around and on the ground are the three stormtroopers. And Hux is standing there and he just goes, huh. I'm the mole, and just kind of like blatantly, just a few times too many things were just expressed. I'm this person. Hello, I am here. The Knights of Ren walk by somewhere. It's like, we know they're the Knights of Ren. We know they're anything, and they have two stormtroopers that are there. Go, oh, look, it's the Knights of Ren, blah, 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 in kind of a campy, blah, blah, blah voice. And the other guys go, oh, cool, yeah. I'm like, I don't need you to explain that. They're obviously some special force that Kylo Ren uses, whether they're the Knights of Ren or whether they're something else, whether they're dark troopers or whatever. That doesn't matter. I don't really need that explanation. And I don't need some campy people sitting there going, oh, they're them. Oh yeah, look, there they go. Look, it didn't work. Some of there was too many of that things like that in the film where it's like, bleh, and didn't like it. Didn't appreciate it at all. So where are we going now? We get Rey. So they go to the planet where they so the information gleaned from the dagger leads to the location of the Wayfinder device, which is the wreckage of the second Death Star on the ocean moon of Kef Bur. So we got to go there. So we go there, and they have the dagger. And if you see the image here, so they got the crashed Death Star there, and they hold the dagger up. She holds the dagger up, and she just kind of moves it, and there's a little piece that slides out of the handle that has a little red thing on the end. So obviously the red dot marks the spot. And she holds it and she moves it across there, and the jagged part of the Death Star, horizon of the Death Star, fits into how the edge of the dagger is, and the little dot marks the spot where she has to go. Well, so this is supposed to be an ancient Sith dagger from a long time ago. How does that, seemingly to the future, the Death Star crashed typically, I would think, after the dagger had been made, like decades after. So how does this dagger fit into that? And how they just happen to crash land here at the right spot and go to the right edge of the land so they can look out and see it? I mean, there isn't land on some other side, or if you're 2 miles off to one side and you hold it up there, it's going to point to a different place. So that made no sense to me. I think it would have been better if they could have activated something in it, and it had it as you pointed it towards what you were going to, what you needed to find, the Wayfinder, it glowed, more red. It was blue and then would glow red when you're pointing it the right way. That to me would have been better. Why didn't she just lift the old Death Star out of the water? True. I mean, she's so powerful, she could have just, she can hold ships in space, right? She could hold ships right there in space, lightning blow them up. She's so powerful. All she needs is the top dome, the spire from where the Emperor used to sit. So she could easily have just cut that off and just floated it all the way over to them and just set it on the ground instead of having to take the little, skiff ship out there and climb up there and then meet Kylo Ren again and all this stuff. All these different meetings and stuff that keep happening. It's like, okay, you go there, and then Kylo Ren shows up. Then you go here, then Kylo Ren shows up. Then you go here, and they got you. Okay, we don't need repeated, events like that. I just didn't. We're making the movie longer than it needed to be, or just the nostalgia of putting someone in a place where, we can all see, oh, this was the Emperor's room from The Return of the Jedi. Oh, how quaint that we're here again, right? So, yeah. So the information gleaned from the dagger leads to the wreckage. Okay, blah, blah. Rey makes her way over there. She used a little ship to go over there, to float over there. They couldn't take the Death Star, or the Millennium Falcon over to the Death Star, because they crash landed, and for some reason, unbeknownst to anyone, the landing gear didn't work, so they crashed it in the ground. And why they have to fix the landing gear in order for it to take off, that I don't know. I would think that if you're in the ground and it's going to push, energy down to lift it straight up, that who cares if you have landing gear? Landing gear is just there so that it sits nicely and you don't scrape off the bottom, control pieces and stuff off the ship. Well, you've already done that because you crash landed it. So just take off. Some things don't make sense. I don't know. Some things are just there as devices to forward the plot. And that's it. Nothing else. So they get another lightsaber battle up there. Then they jump out onto the water, the beams where they're fighting out here on the water. This right here, and this right here, they're fighting out there. And at some point, Rey gets Kylo Ren's lightsaber and stabs him through the stomach with it. And he falls down, and since we already know she can heal people, he's dying, so she heals him. So we were told back when she healed the snake that she just transferred some of her life force to it. And I don't know how transferring life force to something creates the healing part. I'm not sure how that doesn't quite sound right to me. Either you can heal something and create, if you're going to do something on the Force and be able to manipulate all of the cells back to where they should be, accelerate healing. Why does that? They don't really explain that. They just kind of give it to you as an explanation, like, yeah, it just uses my life force and then it does it. So okay, fine, thank you. So broken and defeated, Kylo remains on the wreck of the ship. Rey takes off. I think Rey leaves the Force Moon, remain resistance on the Falcon. The Falcon comes and picks her up. And Kylo stays there on the Death Star, and he's visited by a vision of his father. So yes, we get Han Solo, aged 30 years Han Solo, extremely gray hair, and everything's like, he's probably like, I'm gonna do this, but I'm just gonna come in for a day. Don't worry about makeup or hairstyling or anything. I'm just gonna show up and and be there. So they have a discussion about everything. And again, I kind of took that, again, kind of healing, because now he's becoming Ben Solo now. He's going to kind of give up the other dark side part. So that somehow the life force transfer thing, healing, causes the people that you heal to change their idea, like manipulates their thinking. I mean, yeah, you'd be grateful that they were healed by you, but it completely changes, takes everything that he was doing and just removes it. Like now he's not Darkseid anymore. He's now the good guy, Ben Solo, but I can still use the Force and everything else. So now we're getting down towards the end, Act 3. Following her experience on the Death Star, Rey returns to the island of Ahch-To, where we had the defiling of Luke Skywalker in The Last Jedi. And she's going to do that. She's going to, I can't take it anymore. I'm going to run off, and I'm going to sit here on Ahch-To and be the monk that Luke told me I should be. And she's there, and the TIE fighter that she brought there is on fire. She just burnt it up, and then she's going to take the lightsaber and she throws it in there, and it doesn't get in there because Force Ghost Luke grabs it. How we get Force Ghost people to be able to, again, we're taking Force Ghost things and now having them affect things in the real world, meaning that your death and sacrifice in any situation becomes meaningless. So why don't they just all take their Force Ghosts and bring them all out and give them lightsabers and just start, attacking, stormtroopers? Why aren't they just do that? Have a whole army of Force Ghosts. If the Force Ghost can handle the lightsaber and the Yoda Force Ghost can bring lightning down, why is that? So some of this stuff just doesn't, I don't think somebody thought all the way through, like people who have been really into Star Wars have thought all of this through for a long time. Well, you can't do this because of that. You can't do this because of that. So they didn't. Anyway, so she throws the lightsaber in there. Luke brings it out and sits her down and has a talk with her and stuff. So she saw the potential within her and hoped that. So Leia saw that there was potential in her, hoped she would be able to restore the balance to the Force, just as Anakin once did. Rey supposedly asked to speak to Leia at one point, but Luke responds by telling her that Leia has not yet completed her training, and he cannot yet feel her distinctive consciousness within the Force, which I think kind of means that Leia hasn't died yet. So then they do go back to a part where, flashback, where Leia was getting training. So now we start trying to fill in some blanks here. We get a flashback. Leia was being trained by Luke. But she, for some reason, I forget why she didn't want to do it anymore. But so Luke gives Rey the lightsaber. So now Rey has a Leia lightsaber and she has the Luke lightsaber. So Rey boards the X-Wing. So Luke raises the X-Wing that was submerged in the water on Ahch-To, so that brings it up, lands it, so that Rey can fly off in the X-Wing. Again, when did Force Ghosts be able to do all this stuff, and why don't we have an army of Force Ghosts just bring everybody back and just take care of everything? Because they're Force Ghosts, they can't die anymore, so why don't we have an army of Force Ghosts? Again. Okay, after returning to the jungle base on Alan Kalass, several things happen. After seeing the sacrifice made by 3PO, R2 reveals he has a backup and restores his backup. So he's back to the regular 3PO. He's not the whacked out 3PO who only knows like the last 10 minutes of the movie. Lando re-enters, having changed his mind about joining them, and comes to the jungle base. How he knows where the jungle base is, I guess it's all good. Everybody knows where the resistance base is, so let's all go there. Finn reveals information from Dio that leads to Exegol. So Dio was on Ochi's ship, and he has some information about how to get there. Convenient. The resistance mobilizes and readies themselves, so they're going to go off and fight the big fleet that Palpatine has. And this kind of makes no sense that all of the Star Destroyers are controlled from one little radio tower. That makes no sense to me. I'm in IT, right? I'm in computers. I deal with systems we have Amazon, we have Microsoft Azure, we have redundant systems, we have all these things that are out there to guarantee that when I click a button to go to a website to like pay my bills or go to Google or Facebook or whatever, that when I go to that website, that load is distributed across innumerous servers around the internet. But yet, Palpatine's whole system is based on one antenna that controls all these things. Okay, you've lost me here. That's anything that is as technologically advanced, where it has something that has a little gun on it, ship with a gun on it that can destroy a planet, and you have one single point of failure. So wasn't working for me at all. So I mean, and they kind of did have a little bit of a caveat to that. So they see that they're going after the one tower, and then the one main Star Destroyer switches the control to it. Okay, there, good, you've got a backup. But then they go to destroy that ship, and then now none of them are controlled again. That's the best you can do. You're not going to transfer it back to the other one on the ground. You're not going to say that all of them have control towers and can all communicate in a mesh. I mean, I've seen a friend of mine used to work at a company that made rat traps. And these rat traps had little wireless chips in them. And you would put the rat traps around your warehouse. And the rat traps would mesh together. And anytime you put one down, it would create a mesh so that your network could connect all the rat traps in your whole thing. And it would tell you where all the rat traps are and when mice or rats got stuck in a rat trap, so you could go in and clean it out and then reset it. This is like very base, type of wireless networking that we have in rat traps. But no, they got two antennas, one on the ground, one on the ship, and they can only use one at a time. Not even both at the same time. So there you go. Just as a computer person, I was beyond irritated by that. I'm always irritated by those things, by the single point of failure things in movies. It just doesn't, even in The Last Jedi, it's like, oh, we only have to destroy the one ship because that's the only one that can read the tracking through hyperspace. Well, the other ones have it, but they just don't turn it on. I'm like, okay, that's stupid. Okay, so Rey follows the coordinates. Okay, we get down there. The sky above the stadium is filled with Star Destroyers, soon to be embroiled in conflict. The approaching resistance. So the resistance is only, 30 or 40 or whatever, however many people. I need to plug in my laptop. Hold on. Okay. There we go. Power crisis averted. So now we've got Palpatine. Rey is down where Palpatine is. She's found him. Palpatine wills Rey to strike him down in anger. And supposedly, if she strikes him down in anger, then his life force is going to embody into her. So where we get I don't know where we get this in Jedi mythology. I've never seen this before. During the conversations, Sidious reportedly confirms Rey's lineage and goads her to take up a lightsaber and strike him down. Very much like how he encouraged Luke to do the same thing 30 years ago, telling her that killing him, will she gain the power needed to save her friends. Palpatine also apparently makes statements alluding to the belief that Vader could not betray Luke due to their familial bond, and that the same kind of bond would ultimately cause Rey to do what the Emperor wishes. Okay, so now the First Order and Empire and they're calling it the Last Empire, since this is the last Star Wars movie, last Disney Star Wars movie of the trilogy of trilogies. So that's all going on, and so now Ben Solo, now it's not Ben Solo, it's not Kylo Ren anymore, so was able to leave the wreckage of the Death Star and travel to Exegol with the purpose of joining Rey to help face So they're going to go face Palpatine together. Before leaving the wreckage, Ben abandons Kylo's lightsaber, so now he's walking into a war zone with no weapon. When he arrives, he encounters the Knights of Ren, who are guarding the entrance to the arena. Rey is about to kill Palpatine. When she sees no way around this, she senses Ben at the last moment. She realizes she's not alone, initiates a forced bond with him to pass off one of her lightsabers to him, which she does. She just takes it and puts it behind her head like this, and then he puts his hand behind there, and it's there. Now we have this magical transformation of stuff. I don't know. That's from The Last Jedi. Oh, so one of these things. So before, let me go back a little bit. So when they're on the planet, when they're at Agent Kloss, at the jungle base, they're talking about their battle strategy, and somebody says, what about the Holdo maneuver? And I just about threw up. The most worthless, pointless, dumbest move of The Last Jedi was the Holdo thing, hyperspacing her ship into the other ships. One, don't bring in a character that nobody knows just for the pointless piece of having a woman do it instead of having some other character that we, know, like it's a trap, right? Have that character do it. I mean, that was it. But now it's super canon because now we have the Holdo maneuver. Just don't even talk to me about that. That's that was irritating, beyond irritating. Okay, so now we've got battles going on and everything, and finally, so she throws him a lightsaber. Seeing Ben arrive pleases Sidious, so Palpatine then uses his power to bond them together to begin to siphon their power. So they're standing together, and you start sucking their power out of them. And where this comes into, I mean, maybe it was in the extended universe or something. I don't know. I didn't read a lot of that, but that I've never seen before. So this is something new again. So Palpatine, his fingers, which were half cut off, now start reforming and becoming whole again, and his body is kind of getting, more standing up. He's more better. I think he gets down off of the machine that's holding him and feeding him, fluids and things like that. So they finally, when all this action is happening on the ground, much more explosive events are happening in the sky. Resistance are locked in battle. Resistance arrives as they are confronted with hundreds of Palpatine Star Destroyers. Yeah, so they arrive. There's a bunch of all the Star Destroyers are active and shooting at them. So they're trying to fly in between them, and so that if the Star Destroyers shoot, they'll shoot each other Star Destroyers. And then they start taking out the planet killer guns that are on the bottom of all the Star Destroyers. So Rey and Finn... Rey and Ben Solo are falling down because their power's been kind of drained from them. Palpatine throws Finn off the edge of a cliff. Okay, so, and then having referred to full strength, Palpatine shoots lightning to Ben, forcing him to the bottomless abyss, never to be seen again. So, yeah, Sidious then shoots lightning into the sky at all the resistance ships. So he's lighting up and destroying, just by shooting lightning up, he's destroying all the ships. So, there we go. So Rey slowly starts to move. So she doesn't have all of her life force out of her, but she slowly starts to move. And I think she starts hearing all the other Jedi of the past telling her, you can do it, come on, let's go, you're great, come on, let's kick it in gear, you can do it, let's go. Little pep talk for Rey. So here's Obi-Wan and Ahsoka and others, and then Leia. Rey grabs one of the lightsabers. She does this here, says she grabs both. She just grabs one of them at first and then holds it up, and now Palpatine is hitting that lightsaber with the lightning and going against her. So, and she's trying to hold it, And then finally she puts her hand out, and Forrest grabs the other lightsaber, and he's telling her he's now back. He's Palpatine in full strength, and there's nothing you can do. And he's all of the Sith Lords all together. He's all of their power all together. And she takes both lightsabers now and puts them together and pushes the lightning back against him and blows them. And she says, "I'm all the Jedi together," and boom, now he's gone. So, yeah, the Resistance ships come back online following Palpatine's death because they're no longer getting hit with the lightning. And then at that point, it was maybe a little bit before or after this, was Lando shows up with the Millennium Falcon and a bunch of reinforcements. So, like, billions of reinforcements. I mean, there's probably you don't have time to like count how many ships are up there, but I mean, probably thousands upon thousands. And it's very interesting that at the end, towards of The Last Jedi, they sent out a message and no one would come, but then Lando goes and says, "Hey, why don't we all go?" And boom, then everybody's there. I don't know if he's got a better way of sending the message or what, but telling people, the First Order, we need to go against and get the First Order because they've got the whiny Hux guy, and they got the childish fit having Kylo Ren guy, so we need to go against them. They should be pretty easy because the one's whiny and the other ones, and then Snoke is dead, so we should be able to take him, but nobody comes. So now we've got the ultimate Palpatine, more powerful than anything else in the universe, and 1,000 Star Destroyers with planet killer guns, which seems pretty ominous to me, but everybody shows up this time. So there you go. And so they all take them, they start killing all the Star Destroyers, and they're crashing and everything else. And then there's a bunch of other battles and everything, and finally they all crash. So, having won the days, Fire the Battle Group regroup at the jungle base to celebrate. What follows is apparently a celebration across the galaxy, once again mirroring what we see in The Return of the Jedi. Yeah. Poe attempts a more than friends insinuation with Zori, but is rebuffed at a moment that is played for a light laugh. Yeah, it was all right. So then the group finds out that Leia is dead, and they tell Chewie. So this is something that I think they probably took from comments that people made about The Last Jedi, that when Chewie heard that Han was dead, it's like, "Oh, cool, thanks," and then just goes on about his day. So now he's hearing that Leia's dead, and he just yells out. He's just overcome with grief. So I think they finally got that kind of right. So good for them. They just missed it, a movie, right? Then towards the end of the film, there we've got, of course, everybody's together, and then Maz Kanata comes over to Chewie and hands Chewie a medal that looks like the one from Episode 4, New Hope. Because everybody knows, and everybody's seen the movie, that Han Solo and Luke get the medals put on them by Leia, but Chewie's just standing there with no medal. Even though he was there, and he was doing everything too. So in this movie, I guess they're trying to make it right and say, okay, we'll give Chewie a medal too. We're not giving everybody else a medal, but we'll give Chewie a medal because, Leia forgot 30 years ago, and she's been holding on to it until then and just never remembered to give it to him. Okay, at the end of the film, the hero travels where it all began, desolate and Tatooine. So she goes back to Tatooine because she defeated Sidious. So Rey takes Anakin and Leia's lightsabers. She doesn't take them and disassemble them and use it to construct her own. She takes them and wraps them up and puts them in a cloth and ties them up, and then force pushes them down into the sand probably, maybe 20, 30 feet down into the sand in Tatooine. So she doesn't really dismantle them. She keeps them and just hides them. So then she pulls out her own and flips the little thing, and it come on, turns on, and it is for sure the golden yellowish blade. So then somebody comes up who's wandering around and asks her, says, "Hey, nobody's been there for a long time. Who are you?" And she says, "I'm Rey." And the person says, Rey who?" And she looks over and sees the Luke and Leia Force Ghost standing there, and she says, "I'm Rey Skywalker." So that's the rise of Skywalker, because she appropriates their identity. I guess you could say she adopted herself into the family. So, and then credits roll after that. So there are parts. I mean, it can be fun if you don't dig into any of the details and you don't care about the mythology and you don't care about anything before staying true to the concepts of what we know of the Force and everything else, and you go through the movie, you're going to give it the rating that it's got on here on IMDb. You're going to give it the 88 rating, or 6.6. Well, you're going to the 6.8, and then you're going to give it the 88 rating. So let's see if there's any more. It was 1600. Now it's still the same amount, 1665. You're going to give it that. I mean, Mrs. Tech Show enjoyed it. You thought it was a pretty good ending to it. There's, for the people who really dig in, and the group called the Fandom Menace, right? They're really going to dig in, and they're going to take some of these things apart, like I've kind of been doing, kind of tearing a little bit of it apart and telling you that there are things that just didn't, that didn't make sense, that were easily broken down, and it was really a little bit of a remake kind of Return of the Jedi again. They're really going through some of the same things and some of the same dialogue. Some of the same things were used over and again. The really irritating thing, I guess, was the Leia character just continually, moving her hands, having a facial expression like she's looking up all the time. And who's she looking up at? I don't know. She's having a conversation, and she's looking up, and her, because she's not there to act, and they just put her in there. If they would have done it less, you don't need it in there that much, right? And you know that when they're shooting from behind, it's actually somebody who's standing, is Billy Lord or whatever, that's standing in for her at that point. So, so most of the rumors and everything. Here's the other. Let's see. There's this. This is from Reddit. These are all the rumors and stuff. Wayfinder is a pyramid-shaped object. That was true. Palpatine flashes the light, and that was also irritating. I mean, every time we went as you're going into the theater, they have the little signs that say, flashing light strobes if you have, epilepsy or something that's triggered by flashing lights, you should not go see this film. And that did get a little irritating. Like every few scenes, they'd get to a point where there would be flashing light on one side and flashing light on the other side and flashing light, just moving, light from one side of the face to the other side of the face. Like there's lightning over here, and then lightning over here, and then lightning over here, and then lightning over here. And just back and forth. Then it'd be blue, and then it'd be a little redder, then it'd blue, and then more blue, then white, and I'm like, can you stop that? Just don't do that anymore. I don't need that. Let's see. Luke's apparently searching for Exegol. This was true. Following meeting, Kylo discusses the First Order. He immediately says to Hux's name, but seemingly changes the subject. I don't remember that part. So when they were leaving the ship at the one point, where they're on a ship, they're on the one Star Destroyer, and the Hux reveals that he's the spy, and then he goes to the other general on there, General, what's his name? Pyre, something. Goes to him and says, there's, they got away, General Pride, they got away, they had somebody, who was helping them and stuff. So, but they had him, had Finn shoot Pride in the leg so that they would say, okay, just so they know, otherwise they're going to kill me, so shoot me in the arm so that they know I tried to, keep you from escaping. So he shoots him in the leg for whatever reason. And then when he goes up to Pride and says, oh, they got away, blah, 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 something else, then Pride just grabs a gun and turns around and shoots him. Says, you're dead because you're obviously, yes, that's true. You're obviously the spy. So boom, you're dead. So he gets wiped out at that point because basically you don't need the character anymore. So you might as well just get rid of Hux. I mean, and Hux really played 3 different parts in every movie. He played somebody else. His character was completely different in every film. I mean, this was the only film where he kind of was likable. The first film, he kind of had no power, was trying to figure out what to do. The second film, he was a joke. And this film, he kind of, is trying to redeem himself, I guess, by, being the spy. And he gave the reasons. They have to give reasons for everything. I'm the spy. Well, why do you want to be the spy? Let's sit down and discuss this. Everything's blowing up around us. But let's discuss. Why did you want to be the spy? Oh, because I didn't want to serve under Kylo Ren. Well, if you understand the way things are, unless you're complete absolute ruler of the universe, and you don't seem like you've had any kind of ability to do that, so you're going to be serving under somebody. Why not Ren? Why not, what's the point? What's your motive? What's your draw to doing that? So it just didn't, again, some things just didn't make sense and didn't easily, logic breaks a lot of these things down really quickly. So, all right. Well, it's getting to be 10:05 here, Pacific time. Thanks everybody for watching. This will be posted back on my channel. I'll download it and then move it back over to as a regular video. Or maybe I'll just leave it in the live section. That's probably fine. But like I said, if you go through and you don't want to have anything connected to anything Star Wars, and it's just a movie it's a space action movie that's kind of like a video game, going through, picking up different items and moving forward till you get to the end, you're going to like it. If you want everything to connect really well to the rest of the mythology and not have Mary Sue characters and characters completely change who they are very quickly, like Kylo Ren, becoming Ben Solo, was like, he's there to try and kill her on orders, and he's been trying to kill her for the longest time, and now she stabs him and was going to kill him, and then she heals him, and now boom, I'm good now. I'm okay now. No talk, no discussion, nothing about why what he was doing, why he was doing that, what he was doing, and what was the point of it, and no discussion about we need to bring you over to this side. It's like, I healed you, so now you're my slave. I healed you, you're my slave now. So that's basically kind of what happened. So anyway, all right. Well, this has been an hour and 20 minutes of talking about the Rise of Skywalker, and I'll keep it posted on my channel, and I'll post a link to it to Twitter, Facebook, and everything else for other people to watch later. So thanks everybody for watching. Thanks everybody for commenting. I enjoy my little channel. I enjoy people coming and watching and just conversing about all this stuff. It's good. Very good. All right. So like, share, subscribe, all the fun stuff on YouTube. All right. Thanks for watching, everybody. Take care.